Hey folks, so this video is going to be a little out of the ordinary and maybe even a little off topic, although I will try to make it relevant to us as preppers. I want to relate something to you that's happened at my job because there's several lessons that I'm taking from it personally, but there's one particular lesson that we can take from that as preppers, and I wanted to share that with you folks here. All right, so one of my co-workers is in the hospital right now. He's unconscious. He's been unconscious since Sunday night. He's been unconscious this whole time. He's never woken up even for a second. They did an MRI last night, and based on the results of the MRI, from what I was told, there's severe brain damage and they don't expect him to ever wake up again. So you might be wondering why I'm relating this to you, and the reason is this, and I can only go based on what I was told. I'm not trying to talk about anybody. I'm not trying to talk about anyone's family or anything like that, but there's a lesson here for people to take, and to take it to heart very seriously. From what I was told, he got some pain medicine, not from the normal sources or through the normal channels. And as a result, again, what I was told, I can only go by what I'm told. I don't know for certain all the details, but Sunday night he thought he was taking some hydrocodone for pain, and supposedly it was at least they believe it to be fentanyl that he accidentally took. As a result, he fell unconscious, suffered a cardiac arrest, and fell unconscious. And I'm told he went at least 20 minutes without oxygen, without breathing. I don't know the circumstances of that. I don't know if he was alone when this happened. I don't know the details to that point, and that really doesn't matter. But just to put it into perspective, this guy is in his early 30s. He has 2 daughters. He just got remarried. He was doing really good at work. In fact, he was training a replacement so that he could be promoted. And he just went out and bought him a new car that he'd been wanting for a long time, and he'd started traveling too recently, and was talking about traveling more. Why am I saying all this? Well, the lesson that I want to relate, that I want to hammer home for everybody, is that, you know, when you know somebody that goes through something like this, or somebody that passes away, it's normal, it's natural to think about your own mortality and to reevaluate your life, how you've been living, and how you want to live your life going forward from this point. I mean, that's all natural and normal for everybody to go through that. So there's usually a lot of things that go through somebody's mind. But one thing that went through my mind was, there's a lesson here for preppers. And that lesson is, as preppers, we're constantly talking about stocking medications for SHTF. People that are on medications want extra medication as a backup in case something happens and they can't get any more. They'll at least have a short-term supply to last them for a little bit. A lot of preppers that aren't even on medications try to stockpile over-the-counter medications. Some try to stockpile pain meds. You try to stockpile antibiotics, all kinds of things like that. And there's really nothing wrong with that. But the lesson here is that he thought he was taking one thing. He thought he was taking hydrocodone, and that's not what it was. It's possible it was fentanyl. So, or fentanyl, however you pronounce it, however you want to say it. So, the lesson here is that if you're going to stockpile medications of any type, even over-the-counter medications, because over-the-counter medications, if you have certain conditions and you take the wrong one at the wrong time, or you just take the wrong one, period, they can cause severe injury, illness, or even death. So it's not just prescription medications we're talking about here. It's all medications, over-the-counter meds too. If you're going to stockpile these, you need to make sure everything is labeled correctly in the correct bottles and packages. Don't be switching pills about. My mother and my grandmother were really bad about taking pills out of one bottle and putting them in another that was for something completely different. My mother was bad about it. My grandmother was even worse. And I don't know why, but older people are really bad about doing that. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me, but it's something I've come to notice over the years. Older people are bad about changing out bottles. Maybe the cap might be easier to open on this bottle than the other one, so they swap it around, but they don't take the labels off. Or if they do take the label off, they don't label it with something new saying what's actually in it. You're playing a dangerous game when you do stuff like that. So if you're going to stock these medications as preps, then you need to be very careful about how you store it, what you store, how it's labeled. Make sure it's labeled correctly in the proper packaging. Or if it's not in the original packaging, make sure it's in a package with the correct label on it. Another thing to keep in mind is if you're stocking these medications and it's not something you take on a regular basis, and for that matter, even if it is, get in the habit of doing it, even if it is. But if it's not a medication that you normally take and you're saving it and just in case grid goes down, end of the world happens, and this is all that we've got for medicine, okay? I can understand people putting medicine back for that. But you do not need to be giving pills out to just anybody randomly anytime they feel sick or don't feel well. You're playing a very dangerous game. You're taking your life in your hands, or their lives in your hands. You should never give anybody a pill unless you know exactly what's wrong with them, what the correct medication to give them for it is, exactly how much of that medication you're supposed to give. So you need to know the condition you're giving it for, the correct medication for that condition, the correct dosage for that condition, and on top of that, you need to be concerned about, do they have any allergies that you're not aware of? Do they have any medical conditions? Are they taking any medications that might have contraindications? And for those that aren't familiar with medical speak, what I'm talking about is some medications have adverse reactions when mixed with other medications. So they might be on some medication that you're not aware of, and what you're about to give them might have an adverse reaction and could make them sick or kill them. So you need to be extremely cautious when giving anybody medication, especially in a grid down situation where you have nobody to go to in an emergency. So that, to me, that's the lesson for preppers to take out of this. Don't take something that you're not absolutely 100% sure what it is, where it came from, what the correct dosage is for your condition. Make sure everything that you stockpile is correctly labeled, packaged, and stored. And make sure that whoever hands it out or gives it out knows what the hell they're doing. Now, again, like I said, this coworker of mine, I've worked with him for a long time. I'm not particularly close with the guy, but I've talked to him on almost a daily basis at work. This guy had a lot of life left ahead of him, and barring some miracle, at this point, he's dead. His life is over. His body might still be alive, but if the MRIs are correct, if the brain damage is really as severe as what they're thinking, his life is over. He had a lot going for him. He was doing really well. He was enjoying life. So this is a real shame that this happened to this guy. And my heart goes out to his family for what they're going through right now. Because like I said, barring some miracle, the odds of him surviving and coming out of this even remotely close to his former self are extremely, extremely low. In fact, to be honest, given what I've been told, I don't think there's any chance of him coming out of this. I think his life's gone. It's just done. Because they're saying he went at least 20 minutes without oxygen. So technically at this point, he should be clinically brain dead. But, you know, they're trying to give him, for the family's sake and for his sake, they're trying to give him a little bit of time to see if there's that slim chance that he might recover. At least even a little bit. Because I'll grant you, I've heard stories of people in those conditions coming back in what seems like miraculous ways. Whether this is going to be one of those situations, I don't know, but I'm trying to take what lessons I can from this. And this is one lesson I wanted to pass on to you guys, because this should never happen to anybody. If you need medication and there's any way possible, go to a doctor. Don't get medication off the street from people you don't know. Don't buy pills and bags for anything. I'm not one to normally stress following all the rules, per se. But you have to understand, when you're talking about medications like this, you're talking about putting very strong chemicals in your body. And you don't know exactly where those pills come from or what's in them. So, and here lately there's been a rash of problems in this country with this fentanyl drug, where medications are laced with it, or it's not what people thought it was. And it's costing a lot of lives, and it's unnecessary. Use a little common sense. If you need medications, there's ways of getting it. But for God's sakes, be careful, take precautions, stay safe, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your families or your friends. Anyway, that's all I've got right now. I just wanted to pass on this message and consider it this public service announcement for this channel. I'll get some more videos out this weekend. I appreciate you guys watching. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Again, stay safe, be careful, use common sense, be smart, take whatever precautions you need to in your preps. And until next time, folks, take care. I'll catch you later.